I'm people with your boy Zero, aka Black, Natsuki, Subaru, and you already know what's up. We are here with another chapter reading of ReZero Arc 9, specifically Chapter 41, A Praise Through Circle. Now, this has been a very, very good arc. Now, I am gonna deliberate just because I haven't really been talking as much shit with you guys, right? Now, before we get fully caught up, because, you know, we're on 41 now. I think there's only like 42. Let's see. There's gotta be like 42 chapters out. Yeah. So, after this, when we read 42, we're gonna be caught up. We're gonna be caught up. So, what I want to say, this arc is so fucking god tier. Like, it has been so incredible going through each phase. This is one of the first times that I've been consistently trying to keep up with ReZero's web novel as it was airing. And that's mostly because all the other times I was always a little bit behind, like as far as I'd be like a whole phase behind. And I'd be reading it at my own pace and whatnot. And it was very rare that I'd be like super caught up and like I'd be waiting for each new chapter. I do kind of like it like this, where I'm a little bit behind, but at the same time, other than reading the side stories, if I get too caught up with ReZero and I gotta wait for more, I can't. Anyway, so I'm not gonna hold y'all any further. Don't forget to leave a like and share it with your homies, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell icon so you can stay updated on when I make videos, content, go live, and all of that good crazy shit. Now, as we know how this goes, I'm bricked up. You're bricked up. Let's be bricked up together as we read ReZero, the web novel. I know my hair is a bit disheveled. Like I said, I took a nap in the last video. Well, it's the same day for me, but for you guys, you're gonna be getting these videos like back to back to back to back daily. And I am not going to make the same mistake of uploading the wrong part a little too early. All right, got my water. Okay. And you guys notice I keep scooting up. It's because my room is on a slant, and so like on my little rolly chair, I always start to like slide back, and it's so annoying. Anyway, okay. Let me turn that volume just a little bit. This may not be the best music for this, but like, hey. Let's see. That instant, the residual members of the Owl Troop, who had been on guard from the sudden appearance of Petra and the rest, the Divine Dragon, Volcanica, Roy Alfard of Gluttony. And wait, did I read all this? Wait, is this the first? Is this the first? Oh, it is. Oh. Okay, so I'm just gonna start from here. As the imaginary Subaru's voice completed Petra's sentence, the dragon, the Sin Archbishop, and Heinkel all conformed to their own individual senses of judgment. In order to disarray their options as much as possible, they mobilized the bulk of their forces right at the outset. Of course, this stratagem also came with a large risk that the Divine Dragon would dispose of all of them in one fell swoop. But, likely, the method Ao-san used to enlist the Divine Dragon was the same one used for me. Such was Petra's conjecture on the betrayal of the highly esteemed Divine Dragon Volcanica. Regarding the state of the Volcanica perched at the top of the watchtower, from what Petra had heard from Amelia, she understood that the dragon had grown senile after many long years. The method of forcibly cramming something into the void of that consciousness was something Petra understood better than anyone from her own experience. Just as Petra housed Natsuki Subaru in part of her consciousness upon reading the Book of the Dead, there was a high chance that Volcanica now housed an existence cooperative to Ao, and that existence shared quite firmly in Ao's objective, deciding to make an enemy of the world alongside him. There did Petra stake her gamble, on a vow of no killing shared between Ao and Volcanica, At the outset, the one to execute the first strike was the Divine Dragon, maneuvering its enormous body with agility. The dragon's mighty maw gaped wide open, and it unleashed a breath that shone with a light of destruction, reducing all to naught. Such was not the case. Instead, unleashed was a mist of fresh water manifested from the dragon's vast mana. Starting with Petra, it engulfed the royal selection combined force of Aldabusters in one fell swoop, moistening all of their bodies. For a moment, confusion stirred due to the uncertainty of the Divine Dragon's aim, but those doubts were quickly dispelled. The sound of the atmosphere creaking struck upon their eardrums, and they were hindered from readying themselves immediately. Upon looking, Petra and the rest glimpsed that their moistened bodies had begun to glitter with frost, and that they were about to be flash frozen. Old Goa! Within an instant, the forest upon which a white fog was adrift was overturned by a blazing red conflagration. The freezing via dense mist that the Divine Dragon aimed for was suppressed by the power of a swelling flame that seemed to enshroud the entirety of the visible surroundings, instantly thawing the glaciation and even drying the moistened bodies in the blink of an eye. The one who accomplished that feat stood at the center of the formation with a finger raised, having obstructed the Divine Dragon's aim with a single incantation. And while his personality was just the worst, his skills were that of the greatest magician in the kingdom, Roswell L. Mathers. Dude, this shit is fucking hype. It's already hype. Needless to say, the higher the level of magic, the more delicate control it required. On top of having immediately responded with magic of the old tier, which by no means was easily usable by anyone, the glaciation of all present had been utterly annulled, even going as far as to dry their clothes whilst leaving not a single burn. It was truly a divine feat. That Roswell achieved such feats within a single breath left even the Divine Dragon, having lived since times of yore, utterly aghast. Thereupon, that which you ought to focus on is this: concentration. A quiet and courteous voice was accompanied by an unimaginable impact. With a light step forward, Klein had soared above, delivering with his long leg a tremendous kick to the side of the dragon's maw, as the latter had come to a standstill. As for the might of that kick, it was something that can hold its own against even Garfield's kicks, which carried might akin to a cannonball. With its stance broken, the dragon's arms hit the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. The Divine Dragon's first move was thus directed inhibitable. What the hell? By the Roswell Klein combo. I like this. Hold on. My hair is doing weird things. Okay. On the other side, bolting out as to tear through that cloud of dust was the Sin Archbishop of Glut, fangs bare. Haha! For you to line up such a delicious looking assortment of heads at this point, this is just love! Plunging toward the front lines with vigor that spilled his drool, Roy, unlike the Divine Dragon who had attempted to stop all of the Albusters, swiftly pounced at a singular, clear, defined target. Complying to the ferine instincts known as appetite, Roy closed in on his prey with bizarrely refined precision, and the one set to that target for Gluttony's foul tongue was the pink-haired maid standing amidst the formation. Ram! Touching upon something undetectable in the eyes, the outreached hand set the table for the meal. Calling out that name, Roy grinned from ear to ear and called out by that name. Ram's congealed expression crossed gazes with him. The subsequent instant, the Sin Archbishop gave an ostentatious lick of the palm that had touched her. The authority of gluttony was invoked, and there did a new tragedy Virgin. Not? Eyes wide open, Roy clutched his mouth with the recoil from his misfired eclipsing. A nauseating sensation akin to vomiting before Roy as his steps began to falter. Ram twirled her body in splendor. Truly a fool. Ram's knees shot upwards, casting a vivid strike up into the Sin Archbishop's jaw. Shit. After coming this far? The Divine Dragon and Gluttony compared to those two, who while differing in their respective aims, had chosen to fight Heinkel as the last man standing, selected an alternate path. Having opted for a path unique to that of the dragon's chilly breath, or the Sin Archbishop's bizarre eating, Heinkel wielded his unsheathed sword to keep everything in front of him at bay, leaping not forward, but backwards, gaining distance in such a manner. He was most likely hoping for someone other than himself to change the tide of battle. However, nothing so convenient will come to pass, honorable family head. Honorable family head, in truth, I have always wanted to do this. Thereupon descended the twin sisters, having waited in ambush atop the trees since directed under the activation of compression. Flam and Graces. They were twins who served the Estrella family, but ironically, the one whose torso they slammed their kicks into from both the front and behind happened to be the man who was the very family head of the house they had served. The kicks from the sisters had mastered the flow method, gave rise to an impulsive roar unthinkable for girls of such petite build. At the impact that seemed like it would crush his organs, deathly cries of pain arose from Heinkel's throat as his eyes rolled into the back of his head. With these three avenues of impacts all occurring almost simultaneously, their strong sword had unfolded exactly as planned. Strong start, my bad. And in addition to that, now here's the game changer. The imaginary Subaru snapped his fingers, and though only Petra was able to hear it, it rang out loudly. With that as a cue, an alteration was birthed in the battle situation. Another division, by way of compression, fractured the Owl troop even more. Petra Lete was more keenly aware of Owl's troop's terrifying nature than the rest would suggest. After his betrayal at the Pleiades Watchtower, Owl had enlisted the Divine Dragon as an ally, evaded Reinhardt and Felt's forces, and successfully broke the Sin Archbishop of Gluttony out of prison in the royal capital. While Owl's accomplices had played significant roles in the events that had unfolded so far, the greatest threat remained Owl himself. Upon learning the true nature of Owl's extraordinary power over fate, the power to bring about the results he desired, Petra felt a sense of understanding that was beyond words. That was because she had learned the truth about Natsuki Subaru from reading his Book of the Dead. Owl also has the ability to leap. If that's the case, then I know better than anyone how dangerous he is. What's more, unlike me, with my pathetic fighting skills, Owl's the type who can hold his own in a fight. So simply put, it's like fighting a better version of myself. Subaru, you're really dependable when you're with Beatrice-chan too. And when it comes to tricks and cunning, you're every bit as good as Otto-san. But the original me was captured alongside Beatrice. As for tricks and cunning, they really aren't the kind of skills that strong people brag about. The imaginary Subaru spoke with a lack of confidence. But even putting aside her feelings of love or bias, Petra did not think that Subaru was inferior to Owl, let alone a lesser version of him. Regarding that, she had also heard some interesting speculation from Ramji, who had deduced that Owl's authority was most likely time leap. The suggestion was Owl's time leap, that Owl's time leap was more likely something that went back a short amount of time. If he really possessed the same power as Subaru, he could have avoided encountering Feld-sama and Ram-san before they had a chance to confront him. But don't be too confident about that. It's entirely possible that his restart point just happened to be a spot where he couldn't avoid Felt and the others. Even I wasn't able to completely stop Beetlejuice from attacking Amelia and the others. I think that was pretty much a shout out. Just as she was about to say more, Petra considered Subaru's feelings and stopped herself. Don't think that I'm yawning as like a sign that I'm tired. I'm not. My nap was very sufficient. So we're in full swing. Petra was going to say that if Subaru had perfectly defeated the Sin Archbishop of Slaw, who attacked the Roswell Mansion in Arlem Village, the tragedies that befell Rem and Kush would have been avoided. Subaru did everything in his power. Petra recognized this, but Subaru himself felt different. Sadly, this led to Natsuki Subaru's low self-evaluation, which Petra found extremely frustrating. But, setting that aside for now, it's not just the ridiculous Alsan, but also the Divine Dragon, that Shinobi made, a Sin Archbishop, and even Heiko-san all working with him. What an unbelievable members list! The Dragon, a Ninja, a Sin Archbishop, Reinhardt's dad. That's right, that Reinhardt's dad. This isn't going to be easy. As for Heiko-san, no comment. When Subaru made a concerned expression, Petra crossed her fingers over her lips in the shape of an X to indicate that she would not provide an answer. Heiko had briefly joined forces with them in the Valachian Empire, but he deliberately kept his distance from others, so Petra had virtually no contact with him. The only person who cared about Heiko, even if only a little, was Garfield. But if he knew what had happened to Heiko now, he would be devastated. Thinking about how devastated Garfield would be, Petra could feel his anger toward Heiko welling up inside her. The Amelia camp was united in their anger toward anyone who hurt their loved ones. Where am I? What the fuck? Oh. Phew. I need to stay calm. It doesn't matter what Garfield-san feels unless he resolves it himself. And we need to make sure that the path is open for him. You say path, but where do we start? Yeah, you're right. It's not an easy decision, but... Seeing Subaru at a loss, Petra smiled mischievously and turned around. Following Petra's movement, Subaru also looked in that direction. There stood the figures of everyone here, demonstrating the results that had been achieved by Natsuki Subaru, a man who often took everything upon himself, stumbling over and over through repeated failures. Sure, I think Alsan and his group are really tough, and if we tried to fight them normally, we wouldn't stand a chance. But we're not exactly normal either, are we? Winking, Petra made one of the cutest faces she had ever made and smiled at the striking figure of imaginary Subaru as she spoke. And so, together with these not-so-normal but reliable companions, they devised a plan. At Otto Suin's signal, the battle began. Ooh, shit! God, Buddha, Ad Lagna, for as long as I live, I hereby vow to never pen a missive. What? 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 God, Buddha, Ad Lagna, for as long as I live, I hereby vow to never pen a missive. What? The authority brought about by the witch factor of justitia, compression, was by no means all-powerful. The phenomenon induced by compression was ultimately just the compaction of events that could be feasibly achieved, condensing the traversal time within a traversable range. Such a thing served as a good example. To put it another way, events that were impossible to achieve regardless of the time spent cannot be realized through compression. Henceforth, even when it came to the division of the Aldebaran troop, after first throwing Aldebaran out from the battlefield, further dividing the group that remained had been no easy feat. If the opponent was cautious of compression, then the difficulty of applying the authority's effects would rapidly increase. Not to mention, against such foes as the Divine Dragon and a Sin Archbishop, even just taking them away was a Herculean undertaking, unless it was used on a person who consented to its effects, or a person who was caught off guard. The possible applications of compression were extremely narrow. Such was its weakness. The weakness was surmounted by the rapid fire of outlandish stratagems devised by the Royal Selection Combined Forces, the Aldabusters. Overwhelming Heinkel with numbers, taking advantage of Volcanica's mindset that adhered to no killing, and refusing service to Roy Alfard's gluttony, and he was in a delirium over a feast. All of which, before their execution, had been outlandish stratagems of uncertain success. But the likes of stratagems guaranteeing 100% certainty existed not in this world. What did exist, however, were the efforts necessary to approach that 100%, and the hearts that believed in them to the utmost. Those who watered and sprouted seedlings of such possibilities, their spirits were, "Ah, how delightful! Admiration!" Nodding so, Klein landed on the dirt, training his gaze upon the Divine Dragon Volcanica at his fore. Its stance broken, Volcanica supported itself with a single arm, receiving Klein's gaze head-on. Within that narrow, golden eyes of the dragon, the bud of a clearly defined will indeed be perceived. As Petra had surmised, a separate consciousness was being housed in the Divine Dragon's dragon husk. Naturally, as Volcanica glared at Klein, his attack from a moment prior had been ineffective for the most part. It had been enough to succeed in catching it off guard, but it was a far cry from driving the opponent into a corner. Even so, the objective of the initial surprise attack had been achieved. In the theater of war, where the dragon husk of the Divine Dragon was being confronted, those facing off against the usurper numbered a mere 2 members of the Aldabusters. The only ones remaining were Klein and Roswell L. Mathers. I guess it's the same technique that Origin sent away. That sent Origin away. Lifting its body with a hand planted on the ground, the Divine Dragon muttered in a low, solemn voice. As the dragon surveyed its surroundings with its golden eyes, it ascertained that they were removed from the mountains in which they had just previously occupied, having been moved to a faraway open plain. With a teleportation invoked via compression, it was proof the troublesome opponent had been successfully isolated. However, Klein, was it? Thought there was no way, but it seems like there's no doubt that you're the one who holds the witch factor of Tristitia. Where did you obtain that information? Inquiry. I'm acquainted with an all-knowing great deity who taught me. Regardless, it was only something slipped in the midst of all their blabbering, so I couldn't even remember it until just now. As the Divine Dragon shrugged its shoulders in an extreme human-like gesture, from its mouth came the term Tristitia, and an identification of the witch factor's holder. Faced with that, Klein pondered its words. If the usurper was capable of extracting information from the dragon husk, then there would have been no doubt about it knowing such a thing. But if that were truly the case, then its conduct until this point would have been a tad incoherent. In order for it to make logical sense on both fronts, it would mean that while the usurper had yet to attain full mastery over handling the dragon husk, it had somehow heard about Klein's circumstances from someone else. But when it's just the two of you coming to a mutual understanding, I end up feeling quite left out. Master, you are a talented individual capable of performing meticulous work. But if you go too far, you will be considered highly strung. How they obtain this knowledge isn't the problem, in fact. The stratagem has come together after all. Stratagem, huh? As Roswell reminisced Klein, the usurper gradually unfurled the wings upon its back. The mere act of that kicking up a gust, Klein and Roswell backed in the wind as it swept through their hair. Bask in the wind as it swept. Okay. Might not be my place to say this, but regardless of my allies like Roy and the old man, isn't it a blunder for you guys to have separated from your own comrades back there? Oh? Well, isn't that a rather fascinating viewpoint? May I ask you to elaborate? You should already know. When there are more people in my line of fire, there'd be a higher chance of easily getting me to curl up. With this body and overflowing power, it ain't easy to hold back. I see. I can understand that line of thought. If we had wished to aim for a situation in which you were unable to demonstrate your capabilities at full performance, then that's exactly what we ought to have done. But, unfortunately, that is a condition that applies to us as well. Equivalent. What? The usurper of the Dragon Husk had implied that they should have not prepared an environment in which it could run amok, but at Klein's comment, it narrowed its eyes, and then proceeded to immediately widen its eyes. As if to encircle the divine dragon, multicolored lights were afloat with no gaps between them. At a glance, they appeared faint and colorful like a gathering of micro-spirits, materializing in a pool of mana, but anyone with a certain extent of magic knowledge would be able to tell that each and every one of these pale lights was a cluster of immense mana, flickers of great magic, housing dreadful power. Of course, their origin went without saying, the strongest magician without peer throughout history. I like how they're glazing everybody. Oh my god, dude, it's so fun. It's so fun just to see them glaze like everyone in the Amelia camp can fucking box, dude. By the way, we're at the pseudo halfway point. If you guys are enjoying the video so far, don't forget to leave a like and share it with your homies. Anyway, please don't praise me like that, yes? For you to evaluate myself as such, despite knowing teacher, it is indiscretion that terribly pains my heart after all. Seemingly having read his innermost thoughts at a glance, if Roswell were to demonstrate his true ability at maximum firepower, any surrounding allies would serve only as a hindrance. So he knows that he knows the witch. Ooh. The plot thickens. Oh. The same goes for me. Assent. As he spoke, Klein raised his hand, removing the monocle over his left eye. That instant, the atmosphere faintly trembled. That which was faint gradually magnifying little by little, until it crackled through the space, and the earth began to soar. A special monocle it was not. What was necessary was a shift in mindset, a step of resolve to return to the self he had sealed away in the past. By never taking that step, Klein had forced himself to remain as a bystander. With that melancholy and despondency called out by the girl who harbored a shining soul, Klein felt ashamed of himself. Having received that one final push, no longer could he remain halted in his tracks. Ergo, oi, oi! With the sound of bones creaking, protruding from Klein's cranium. Crowned by blue hair were two black horns. Neither were their horns proof of belonging to the Oni clan, nor were they the horns possessing or possessed by a witch beast. Not being either of those, instead, a race that grew horns of such deep blackness in this world, there existed only one. Existences reduced to so few in number that they were thought to have been extinct. The Dragon Kid! Let's go, Clyde! We got a picture? Damn it. Hey, yo. As the neon genesis of the almighty dragons. Oh my god, this is so sick. Klein's a fucking dragonkin. They were a new race that elected to shed their dragon husk in favor of assuming the form of man. Klein, too, was one such dragonkin, but also a being who bore a special meaning to this world. That was because, finally, I've identified the source of this strange feeling. So you're this body's. Any further words would be tactless, superfluous. The usurper still attempted to exhaust further words, so Klein cut it off directly. No matter who it might have been, there existed nobody who held a greater right to silence the usurper than Klein. None were more worthy than the original power of the dragon husk, now purloined by the usurper. The witch's disciple, Roswal El Mathers, Divine Dragon Volcanica. Sending powerful magic adrift, Roswal gave his name with his feet planted on the ground. Meeting with that due procedure, the usurper shamelessly proclaimed itself as such. Just how long had it been since he had followed that curtsy and placed himself atop the stage? With such thoughts in mind, as purple lightning surged around his body, Klein too gave his introduction. Dragonkin of the Divine Dragon, Klein. That is fucking sick. Hey, yo! Hey, yo! That instant, the two who bore ties to the Divine Dragon leaped into action, and the magic that had been deployed unleashed its true might. Thus, with a clash, the destruction reminiscent of a natural cataclysm serving as an impetus. The battle between those who knew 400 years ago. Who knew 400 years commenced. This shit was fucking peak. What the fuck? Are we gonna do 2 chapters in one? Like, this motherfucker saying filler chapter. Filler chapter as a random minor character is revered to be the Dragonkin of Volcanica, one of the key figures in sealing Satella hundreds of years ago, and is vital to the royal selection. You know, a plot point that's been set up for the entire story. Bruh. Like, what? Clyde would probably enjoy being a minor character. Oh, being a minor? What the fuck? What? I eat it rim. Oh my goodness. This shit's hype. I'm gonna see how long it is. If it's not that well, I mean, if it's not that long, oh shit. Oh, that's a doozy. That's gonna be a doozy. Okay. Wow. This is going to be a doozy. Well, let's see. What time is it? All right. You guys have lucked out because we are going to be reading both chapters together. So this will be your time to go and take a quick respite. Go grab you guys like something to drink, you know, another snack, because we're going to be here for a bit longer. And may as well, if we're getting caught up, may as well go like all the fuck in, right? I can already tell that this is gonna go fucking crazy. So, if you guys enjoy these chapter readings, leave a motherfucking like. Subscribe. Share it with your homies for Petra. For Petmaru? Or Petra? Anyway, share it for the goats. Now we're going into Arc 9, Chapter 42. What effort doth shatter the heart? I'm going to try and keep the reading as smooth as possible for you guys. Alright. The moment the knee shot up into his jaw, Roy Alfar's cognizance bolted around like a flash of lightning. Peculiar, inexplicable, strange oddity, whirling misgivings, apprehension, dubiety. How do you say that? Dubiety? Something's wrong. Immense abnormality, error, mystifying, accident, incorrect, irregularity, chaos, doubt. Kindly die. Governed by such misgivings, Roy would not be overlooked by Ram after she knocked the wind out of his sails by some means. Her outstretched white fingers fired a jab into Roy's throat whilst he faced upwards. His welling nausea and respiration intercepted. Ache and suffocation assaulted Roy's small frame. However, Ram's terrifying essence lay in the lack of charm of not slackening her hand here. Bula! The blade of wind generated in the space of her hand, seizing his windpipe. The honed sharpness arrested Roy's slim throat straight on, and with nowhere for him to run, Roy's throat was mercilessly slashed away from his body. This won't go! In that instant, the wind slash cleaved through, and Roy's head spurted blood as though having burst open. What? Did they do it? However, reach Roy's life it would not, for he had reconstructed the carnivorous beast, Belly Hanagal, proprietor of sturdy skin, to whom not a single sword pierced the thousand lungs. Pierced from the thousand lunged into him by the garrison in order to seize the brutal criminal. Ram dilated her eyes at the unforeseen outcome, and in that juncture, while she remained stanced to aim at his throat, Roy first. Hold on. I keep sliding back and it's fucking annoying. Should I make this a little bit bigger? Nah, I should probably keep it at this. This is like fine to read. Unforeseen outcome, and in that juncture, while she remained stanced to aim at his throat, Roy forced her along with him as he instantly shifted to the skies above the battlefield. 'Twas the power of warp movement belonging to the leaper, Dorkel. One certain day, having attained a supernatural power by connecting via odd lagna, as though an abrupt divine oracle, the leaper became a destroyer of order, utilizing that power to assassinate a great number of influential individuals of power. That warp movement indicated no signs in advance, and as Rem stiffened upon being transpired by the unforeseen astonished, he held her down with brute force and used that interlude to conduct evaluation of her as prey of the battlefield. Elfula! Seriously? Devoid of hesitation, she fired a gusty spell of wind magic, to which Roy unwittingly clamored a voice of admiration. The warp movement, without question, must have been beyond Ram's anticipation, but she, in merely a moment, digested the shock of failing to slash Roy's throat, and the surprise from the warp movement, and instantaneously counterattacked. Such courage, such fortitude, you're doing it! The blade of wind had also failed to pierce through the carnivorous beast's sturdy skin, and yet he wished to extol that prompt judgment and mobility of action. Hence, infused with the sentiment to extol it, he returned to favor with a fist strike from the first king, Neji Rockhart. Damn, he's just swapping bodies like everybody. I kind of want to look up some of these people. The hit from the first king, who had smashed the heads of all kinds of warriors on the Gladiator Island, upon being inundated by it, Ram's slender body would be torn to a pulpy squash, vanish. Did you lose sight of Ram? What a useless pair of eyes you had. With that unpredicted voice, the supposedly vanished Ram's presence had emerged behind him. Roy reflexively hurled a blow of the Fist King without looking, but the attack missed. As if magic, her presence had shifted to his overhead, showering him with an Enzui. Gotta look it up. Enzui Giddy kick. Oh, what the fuck? Huh? Oh! Wait. I gotta see it. Wait, it didn't show it. What the fuck? Alright, whatever. But that's interesting. Okay. I'm like, what the fuck is that? That's actually cool as hell. And headlong towards the ground did he fall. Ah, so beautiful. In the midst of falling to the ground back first, Roy did not even take a defensive stance. Wholeheartedly enchanted by that which was overhead, the hem of her skirt waving, the form of a young girl with pink-hued hair fluttered in resplendence. Roy then went on to defenselessly crash into the ground, and as the impact sustained upon his back spread to his abdomen, pain pervaded the entirety of his body. Yet he did not mind. Carnivorous beast, ex-leaper, ex-fist king. Super rational individuals who had surfaced to the top even among all that gluttony had eaten, but Ram's might, technique, and clarity of heart had splendidly disposed of them, inducing Roy to feel deeply moved with emotion and sincerity and without plot. Here, Roy had to also show something good from his side, and with this notion, he swung his legs and stood up, bent his knees, and amassed power in them to pounce at Ram. After all, useless all strength, all capacity. Unless all strength, all capacity, all of everything is totally invested to offer up as hostility. It can't be called love, can it now? That way of thinking, it's identical to something I've heard somewhere, and I really hate it. However, faster than Roy could leap to return to the skies, a ferocious, outraged voice rushed on from the side. The roar was accompanied by sharp, beastly claws and an explosive charge. Curved horns and an enormous build that commanded eyes upward, frames supported by limbs that seemed slender, and flexibly racing on the ground, was the being called the Jet Black King of the Forest, synonymous for ferocity and atrociousness. Ah! Guilty law! Guilty law! Facing Roy as he cheered in delight, a claw swipe swung down. Roy instantaneously countered it with the power of the Snow Valum Tisla, the body exceeding norms, regarded in lengths of having intercepted and restrained an avalanche unaided. Interdicted? interdicted the plunging, robust limbs of the witch beast straight on, latching a grapple in successive order from the right foreleg, then the left foreleg. Then, giving it his all, he sought to twist off both the guilty law's legs, when in an instant, his eyes met with pale crimson pupils, wielding a wand that had slipped below the witch beast's length of legs. Truly, the greatest! Bula! Alexa, stop, what the fuck? The bitch keeps startling me, god damn it. I'm not expecting like a random voice from the back. Okay. Everything seems to be gooshy. Okay. His forehead showered with bullets of wind, disallowing him from speaking. He was blown away by a tail whip from the guilty law. Repelled a great distance while skiing the ground with his tiptoes, Roy lifted his countenance. Behind Ram, wielding her wand, the young girl clinging atop the guilty law's back, Meili used her slender fingers to point towards Roy. No, towards Roy's rear and cried, "Sick! Oh wait, sick him! Which black dog chance?" Oh wait. I don't know how to do like fucking dog moves. Holy shit. Conforming with Meili's shrill call, countless dots of red swooped onto Roy with ferocity. Those were eyes saturated red, belonging to black dogs wolfing down their prey. Fangs bared in truculence. Conceived with the power of magic and a profusion of curses teeming in their bodies. A pack of Olgarn. The pack of demon dogs mercilessly impaled the body of Gluttony with their fangs and tore it apart, munched